You might see a suit up here, but I'm wearing my jeans down here. A day which for over 20 years, I, with so many other people here in Los Angeles, around this country and world, wear denim to mark our work and raise awareness about sexual violence and sexual assault, and to make sure we do everything we can to stop it in our midst. At a time when so many of us are vulnerable because of our stay-at-home orders, our health and safety are paramount in all of our minds. And so no one is more vulnerable than a survivor of assault, one who every single day lives with transitioning from a victim to a survivor and moving on with her or his life as best possible. Today, we have to, even if we can't stand shoulder by shoulder, we have to metaphorically stand shoulder by shoulder with all victims of sexual violence and assault. One in which I remember the first day I wore these jeans and we got a call when I was a council member to my office and they said, "Why is my council member wearing jeans?" And a conversation ensued about a case in Italy where a judge overturned a rape conviction because the woman was wearing tight jeans, so she must have given consent. That started a worldwide movement, and Patty Giggins and Peace Over Violence, an organization based right here, has taken this worldwide. And so we say today that here in Los Angeles and nowhere in this world will we tolerate sexual assault or violence. And for those who are experiencing violence, even in the midst of this pandemic, please reach out, get help, call 911, allow our police officers to get you out of a dangerous situation and to bring perpetrators to justice. And to the survivors in our communities, remember you are not alone. We are here with you. We're here to hold you. We're here to make sure you get through this. And we are here to ensure that this doesn't happen to somebody else. And by speaking out and speaking up, we can get you the help you need and ensure that we see one day in which we eliminate sexual violence in our community. This is the same ongoing commitment of solidarity, of love, of support that brings to a fight against COVID-19. When that battle starts with understanding what numbers tell us about where we stand. So let me begin, as I always do each evening, with the data from today. As I always mentioned too, our data snapshot, our summary is available online at coronavirus.lacity.org. Same deck of information I get today is available for you, so check it out. We can't go through every number in this briefing, but there's valuable information for you, your family, your community, and for one day, us making forward motion to getting back to normal. Today, the county reported 1,541 new cases, bringing the total number of confirmed positive COVID-19 cases to 22,485, a 7% increase yesterday. For comparison, the past 7 days, we've seen an average daily increase of 886 cases a day. As I've said, the reported cases in the last 24 hours doesn't mean these are the cases that have become positive in the last 24 hours. We smooth these numbers out, some days higher, some days lower, to an average that helps us know exactly where we are today. In the city of Los Angeles, there's 683 new cases. That brings the total 10,380, a 7% increase as well. And we learned of 56 new deaths county-wide, bringing our total to 1,056. This is a 6% increase since yesterday. For comparison, we've seen about 47 deaths per day for the last 7 days. Across the county, our general emergency hospitals have right now 1,276 beds available, including 1,018 acute care beds, and ICU beds are 258 available, as well as 1,091 available ventilators. This continues to hold good numbers, ensure that we have exceeded our capacity even as our cases continue to grow. Public Health report, the Los Angeles County Public Health Department also released a very important report that I hope you will check out. But let me summarize a couple things that talked about breaking down the number of COVID-19 cases here in Los Angeles and deaths by neighborhoods. These numbers showed us that on the whole, working class Angelenos and those living in poverty are suffering disproportionate rates of infection and some of the highest rates of death per capita in our county. In analysis of the data, the LA Times noted that some of our lower income neighborhoods in central Los Angeles are losing more than 40 people per 100,000 residents, a rate 4 times higher than the county as a whole. Many long-term care facilities are located in lower-income areas, and we think that's a part of this. And in this data, in part, it reflects the tragic reality that this virus is hitting our elderly population especially hard, as well as those who are comorbid, a technical term meaning people who have pre-existing and vocal conditions. But it also tells a story that I've tried to paint in these briefings, that this pandemic has created new injustices and highlighted old ones, that while the virus can infect everybody, it doesn't affect everybody equally. It lays bare long-standing inequities in our city, our country, trends that are the result of generations of neglect, discrimination, and bias. That's why equity and access have guided our work since the very beginning, and why we've worked to quickly expand testing in those neighborhoods that are hardest hit. Because along with hand washing and disinfecting, cover our faces and physical distancing, testing is one of the best tools that we have to stop the spread of this virus. The truth realized from the very start of our fight against COVID-19, and we acted swiftly to ramp up testing everywhere in Los Angeles. Early on in the crisis, I stepped to the national void, and we launched our own testing program. We started 4 years ago, quickly building a testing infrastructure from the ground up. And I'd like to take a moment to lay out the scale of that so that you can appreciate the hard work of all the volunteers and firefighters, city officials, county officials who have worked to make sure that there are tests available for those who need them. It was Friday, March 20th, starting in a parking lot at Elysian Park, that the city began testing our first responders. And on that first day, we had the capacity to test 145 people. It seemed like a big number at the time. It was a small in retrospect, but it was an important milestone that kicked off a massive scaling effort. Not one day went by when that effort didn't continue to expand our capacity. By March 27th, we tested 5,000 people at 4 locations across the city. And on March 30th, Community Organized Relief Effort, or CORE, teamed up with the city to help us scale at our testing sites in Northeast Los Angeles, South Los Angeles. And on April 1st, we were joined by the county to expand for people across the entire county of Los Angeles. On April 3rd, we were up to 12 testing locations across the county, including 6 within the city, with the capacity to test 3,500 people in a single day. A week after that, on April 10th, we nearly doubled our testing locations and capacity, surging to 20 locations and 6,000 people per day. And we said we'd double capacity again, and by April 17, we were up to 12,000 people per day. Today, at 34 testing sites, with the capacity to test 18,000 Angelinos every single day. And over the past month, we've tested over 140,000 people just through those centers. Let me put that in perspective. In the United States, the COVID tracking project estimates there are approximately 200,000 tests a day. In Los Angeles County, we have 3% of the population of the nation, with the capacity to conduct roughly 9% of all tests in America. This hasn't been a race to blindly ramp up testing. Like scientists working around the clock right now to find a vaccine and therapeutic drugs that can help with this crisis, we have made targeted testing decisions to help us ramp up in the right way with the right populations. Early data showed that COVID-19 was disproportionately impacting African Americans. We quadrupled the size of the Crenshaw site. We opened up a walk-up center in Kedron Community Health Center. And through our partnership with the county, new sites were added in Inglewood, Charles Drew University in Willowbrook. And we saw outbreaks at skilled nursing facilities. So we surged teams and tests to those folks where our grandparents and parents might be and where our vulnerable seniors live. And we became the first big city, maybe even the first city in America, to mandate monthly testing be available at all of those skilled nursing facilities. We know that unhoused Angelinos, many of whom have underlying conditions, are both susceptible and vulnerable. Susceptible because they're on the streets, vulnerable because of their pre-existing conditions. So we stood up a testing facility on Skid Row, which in 9 days has tested more than 600 people. Just 3 of those so far have been positive. We have increased our testing capacity, but we have to keep doing more. I've been driving my team since the beginning, and I want to thank all of them, led by Jeff Guerrero, Deputy Mayor, led by Dr. Eckstein, his counterpart, Dr. Kazan, and all the folks at public health and health services in the county, as well as cities who have helped stand this up together with CORE and other volunteers. As long as this disease spreads, we have to continue to scale. And as long as this disease takes lives, we must test. We know that coronavirus is a silent killer that moves quietly through the population. And many people who transmit the disease, this is why it is so deadly, don't know that they have it. We call it asymptomatic, but let's just say they don't have symptoms. They're infectious, but they're not showing any symptoms. And this illustrates why making testing available to anyone who wants it is essential. We heard national leaders talk about that in early March, but it's been difficult for folks to scale that up. That's why tonight I am so proud to announce that Los Angeles will become the first major city in America to offer wide-scale testing to all of the residents, with or without symptoms. And we did that in just 40 days. So all of the things I've been talking about, worrying whether you work in a critical sector, whether you have symptoms or not, moving forward, in the city of Los Angeles, you'll be able to, have symptoms or not, get tested. With symptoms, we'll of course have the first priority, but we have capacity, we believe, to move forward with that starting tonight. So if you think you have COVID-19, want reassurance that you don't, if you've been around people that you have seen symptoms, get a test. We can do it. And I want to remind everybody, these tests are free for the public. No cost at all to you. But you can't put a price on the peace of mind of knowing that you can't infect somebody around you. So sign up tonight at coronavirus.lac.org/testing. Have the capacity, so don't wait, don't wonder, and don't risk infecting others. This is a really important step to prepare for other steps forward in the week to come. We want everybody to be safe at home. For some folks, we know that home is not necessarily a safe place due to domestic violence. And Los Angeles domestic violence shelters typically house survivors and help them get to other houses within 30 to 45 days across a network of 1,000 beds. But as a result of this pandemic, obviously, people had to stay in place. There's no place for them to go, and those beds were full. A lack of availability for new individuals seeking help and seeking hope suddenly dried up. And that's a problem that our LAPD has seen, spike in daily domestic violence calls. And we have to meet this incredible need and ensure that survivors of domestic violence are met with critical care and support and do not become homeless as a result of the violence. And that's what we're doing. I mentioned it before, but let me spell it out. Rihanna, through her Claire Lionel Foundation, and Jack Dorsey, CEO of Twitter, through his Start Small initiative, they stepped forward and they donated $4.2 million to the Mayor's Fund to launch Project Safe Haven, which will house up to 900 families over the course of the next months. I thank them both for their hearts, for the speed with which they did this, and the ability to save lives as we're saving lives. And I want to recognize a dear friend and the president of our library commission, Mai Latter, who played an instrumental role in getting this done. Thank you, Mai. Contracts have been executed between the Mayor's Fund and nonprofit organizations to provide case management, wraparound services for the 900 domestic violence survivors identified. And I'm very grateful as well to Lyft, which has stepped up and generously donated vouchers to transport these individuals and their families to these safe havens. So if you're a survivor of domestic violence or you're a victim tonight, we've got a resource to help you. Reach out. As I mentioned, you can text 911 if you feel that you're in a dangerous situation. Call 911 if that is available to you. Or go to coronavirus.lacity.org/D resources to learn how you can get the support that you need and that you deserve. An individual who was placed into safe housing the other day had been forced into prostitution by an abusive partner. She and her son, who suffers from autism, were in a horrible, dangerous situation. But she reached out, and Project Safe Haven was able to place her in a safe accommodation. Out of danger, she said, and I quote, "I can't believe people care enough about me to give me this opportunity. I want to know we do care about you and any other survivors that are out there right now. I want every domestic violence survivor to know We care about you. Your safety is not an opportunity, it is your right. And you're not alone, and Los Angeles is here to help in the midst of this crisis. Every step we've taken during this crisis comes from a central impulse to protect people of Los Angeles. That's why we're extending protections to survivors of domestic violence. It's why today I signed into law both a right of recall ordinance and a worker retention ordinance, which will ensure that workers who are hardest hit in those hardest industries, who have lost their jobs as a result of COVID-19, will be the first in line to get jobs back once rehiring happens. I want to thank Council President Nury Martinez and her colleagues for leading the charge to get this passed through the City Council and for her advocacy on behalf of workers across Los Angeles. No doubt that we feel the impact of this pandemic for some time, and the road to recovery will be long, but it's never too early to begin planning to put people back to work. From our hotels, our airports, from our restaurants and entertainment venues, LA's workers bring our city to life. It doesn't just happen magically. It happens because of hard work, and we want to reward that hard work going forward. So let me make this commitment to you, the workforce that's been furloughed and is working without pay. In your moment of need, we will honor your experience, not let you be undercut by newer and lower wage workers. We will protect your jobs and your livelihoods. We owe you nothing less. As this crisis continues, my friends, I know it's tough not to start to grow restless. Everybody wants to know how the moment ends. They want to know when this moment ends, how we can emerge from this darkness, our brighter future, our new normal might look like. You welcome me into your homes every single night through this address to offer answers, ideas, and solutions. And I promise you that every detail that I have, I share with you as soon as possible. So I promise in these coming days, as we get close to May 15th, which, as I say each night, is not some magical flip of the switch or an opening of the doors going back to what it was like before, but will be the beginning of our first steps out, if these numbers hold, that we will plan those things openly and together with our county, hopefully with our region, across cities, and of course communities as well. That whatever it takes to flatten this curve, to keep strengthening our response, and to start reopening our economy, to begin the long, hard work of both recovery and reimagining. Some of the days this week we'll be talking a little bit more in depth about how we do that. And look, I'll be straightforward, just as an Angelino, I know it can get confusing. Some things at the national level, and the state level, and the county level, and from a mayor. I try to synthesize all of those because I find them all helpful. What Governor Newsom has brought and his leadership has been tremendous. What we hear from national leaders who can give us guidance, and working closely together with my fellow 88 mayors across the county and our neighboring mayors up and down the state. We have you in mind. We want to make sure your safety comes first, that we don't make a misstep that results in crowded hospital corridors, more people dying, but we also don't throttle the future and see opportunity disappear, something we can never recover from or rebuild from. So I want to thank you for your patience. I want to thank you for your persistence and let you know that towards the end, when we look at these days, the 2 weeks that are leading up still to the May 15th deadline, it's like the end of a race when you feel tired. I know the temptations are to get out there. Temptations are to maybe sneak away and do something you know you shouldn't. We have to finish this race strong. And there's another race waiting the next day. As I mentioned, this won't stop anytime soon. It's going to be a series of sprints for a year or more. But I'm confident in you. I'm confident in your generosity. I'm confident in your strength and resilience. I'm confident in your discipline because the numbers don't lie. LA has saved lives, and we're going to need those same qualities to continue saving lives and rebuilding livelihoods. So let's keep it up and stay safe and stay healthy and stay at home. Thank you, Los Angeles. As always, much love and strength to each of you. With that, happy to answer questions. First question, please.
Question is from Laura Nielsen with LA Times.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, thanks for taking my question.
Of course.
So, as you know, dozens of cities around the world, including many in the U.S., including New York, Denver, Oakland, San Francisco, Boston, have started restricting car traffic on some streets to give people more space to walk and bike and maintain social distancing while outside. Why hasn't LA done this?
We are going to. I'm very supportive of that. We have a working group across the city. I think it's really critical how we do it and when we do it. That we not, as we saw at the beaches, there's some places, Australia has opened their beaches from 6 to 9 in the morning to exercise. It's been a successful way to open beaches. We saw pictures in Orange County that looked maybe potentially less successful this weekend. So it's very important not just that we take action, but we do it the right way. So we have a working group right now that includes my office, councilors' offices, our Department of Transportation, our Bureau of Street Services known as Streets LA. And I do hope that we can do that in many parts of the city. I think it's important not to jump the gun before the May 15th deadline to make sure that we listen to county public health. I've talked with Dr. Ferrer. She doesn't support that at the neighborhood level at this point. It could draw too many people to one area. It could be something that spreads the disease. So we have to be extremely thoughtful, extremely careful about it. But something I absolutely support. And as we know that there won't be a full-scale reopening, I think it's an exciting moment for us, especially people who live in dense parts of the city who don't have any place to go. That if we can find streets that we can safely close in a network of an area so people don't go to one area, but everybody has places close, that is the criteria that I asked my team to look at and that we will as a city. So I'm excited to do that. I support it. It's something that will be forthcoming. That planning is already underway. Thanks, Laura. Next question.
Jim Rope with Westwood News.
Hi, Jim. How you doing?
Very well, Mayor. Good evening, and thank you very much for taking our questions. And please thank your family too.
Thank you.
That must be a very understanding family.
Yes, I appreciate it.
Have you be out to do this? We appreciate that. One of the things that is coming up is, at least a lot of questions coming up, is as people start to get real optimistic in some recovery. We see a light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, with some of the measures that the governor talked about and some of the things you've talked about. So as we look to recovery, there's some concern that eventually this is going to be put on the backs of the taxpayers. How do you reassure Angelenos that when push comes to shove and the economic reality starts to hit about how much loss there was in the city's economy, that taxes aren't going to be raised or that things aren't going to happen that's going to wind up putting a lot of burden on the residents of this city?
Well, there's no question coming out of this that not just a reopening, which I remind people will not just be a linear reopening, meaning that we take steady steps. There's going to be times we take steps forward, and the disease will cause us to retreat. There's time to take steps forward, and we didn't figure out how to do it right. The safety protocols didn't work, the physical distancing didn't, and we'll have to retreat. Other times we'll take steps forward, and the world won't change, or it'll still be getting better, and we'll take bigger and bolder steps. You're right. It's not just about reopening, it's about this recovery and who will pay for it. It's my philosophy, two things. One is the best thing we can do to pay for recovery is to get our economy going. That when people pay normal taxes because they're back at work, because we have businesses paying sales tax, that is the best way for us to find recovery. Second, though, there's no question this will be shared sacrifice by all of us. Many have sacrificed to at home. We made sure as a state and as a country we're paying for unemployment for people who can't work. Those of that who are working are haircut. Many are furloughed, taking pets. Other people are looking at what we need to do to make sure we get help from the federal government. And every night I've said, we can't do this if the federal government only bails out big corporations and banks, but doesn't help cities and states. Because we provide the critical city services, not just now during this crisis, but the ongoing crisis, and that keeps people safe. Domestic violence survivors need to have somebody to call at 911 and make sure the cop shows up. We need to make sure that when somebody's having a heart attack, that there's a firefighter there. We need a trash picked up. We need to make sure our parks are safe and green and beautiful. So there's no question there will be shared sacrifice, but I'm trying to do my best to limit that impact, especially on lower income class Angelenos, middle class Angelenos, who are the hardest hit by this. We don't anticipate right now balancing the budget by raising taxes or raising any fees. I can't speak at the national level where obviously they're spending a lot of money, how in the long term they will pay for that. But at least here locally, we squirreled away more in the reserve fund than ever in our history. double what it was before the Great Recession, but this is also going to hurt more than the Great Recession. So to me, the best thing we can do is to enact smart ways that are safe to us to open the economy and ways that get more people working, get more revenues paid, get more people who are, going to places that give us sales tax and parking tax and other things. And that should lead the way. You go with taxes first, and no businesses can get back up and running, and they can't hire any people. It's like a never-ending sinkhole. So we'll be looking at that, more on that later this week when we're announcing some of the folks who are going to help us do that planning and that reimagining of the future in a couple days. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, sir.
Next question.
Alex Mitchelson with Fox 11 News.
Hey, Alex.
Hi, Mayor. Congratulations on the testing. That's a big deal.
Thank you.
And the thought, though, of testing 4 million people, how is that actually going to work? Who's going to process all of this? What labs are going to be working on this? How long is it going to take to get those tests going back? And sort of the bigger question about testing itself is, a test shows where you're at right now in this moment in terms of coronavirus. You could get coronavirus tomorrow. So are we going to be having multiple tests for people?
So great questions, Alex, and we wouldn't have moved forward if we didn't have confidence, at least in the capacity. We have been opening up each night to more and more people, and still at the end of the day, we have tests that are left over. We had the confidence that we could move forward. I would encourage people, it's not going to be 4 million people all rushing to the testing centers overnight. And we're doing, for instance, we've offered all of our firefighters testing. Not all of them are taking up on it. People who feel healthy and say, I haven't been around anybody and I've been, staying at home for 14 days. I feel confident. I don't need to waste. For other people who are working still, maybe not in the critical industry, or other people who are around somebody who was sick, but they never knew if they had coronavirus or not. This is a smart thing for us to do. Having that capacity absolutely allows us not just to go once, but to go back multiple times. Now, you shouldn't be getting yourself tested every single day. That's not the doctor's advice. That's nobody's advice. But it is important, especially for people who are looking, as we approach May 15th, if we open certain sectors or certain spaces, if some people return instead of telecommuting from home to working where they have members of the public around them, it's smart to make sure that you are clear. The second thing we talked about is blood tests. We have 1.5 million of those coming to California. Those have to be used differently. And as Barbara Ferrer has always said, they don't tell you whether you're infectious right now. They're more historical. Have you ever been infected? And I hope that some of that can move hand in hand as the state begins to distribute those. The state is looking to set up some more testing centers here on the day-to-day are you infectious virology tests too. We welcome and will embrace. But if we could put both of those together, you can see, am I one of those maybe 4 or 5% that have actually had it? That's great to know. Doesn't mean necessarily you're immune, but it's great to know. And then secondarily, the more important thing is, am I potentially infectious right now? Because as we've seen, many people get infected that have no symptoms, and that's how this silent killer spreads. So I'm very excited we're there. We have the confidence in it, even if it overwhelms. We've been getting usually about 24 to 48 hour return time for our drive-through test centers of those results. Occasionally it's spiked 3 days, but it's generally at 1 to 2 days back. And then lastly, we also have a lot of tests that are not the drive-through centers and walk-up centers. Those are the ones that we're doing with our unhoused Angelino, our seniors as well. Those are different sort of tests. Those take a little bit longer to get back, but definitely under a week, those are effective as well. And we're saving those for specialized environments. And to that point, absolutely, people could get multiple tests. That's not putting a limit on that. We encourage people, if you feel you need a test, get one. If you want to be safe, get one. And for the first time, we're opening up that people without symptoms, no matter where you work or even if you're not working at all. Thanks, Alex. Next question.
Emily Albert with Reyes with Los Angeles Times.
Hey, Emily, how are you?
Good. Hi, Mayor. The Los Angeles City Council voted today to ask you to put a moratorium on debt collection and to also declare collection agencies as non-essential businesses. Do you plan to take those steps, and why or why not?
I want to thank Councilmember Monica Rodriguez who introduced that. I think it's a really smart motion. I think it's one that absolutely cuts to the heart of those who are hardest hit getting doubly penalized potentially. I've asked the city attorney to assess whether that's under the jurisdiction of what a city can do legally, or that financial oversight exists at the state and federal level only. If we do come back that we can do something at the local level, happy to not only embrace that, but to lead the nation with that. So we'll just wait and see what the city attorney says. But I really want to appreciate whether we can do that ourselves or whether this motion helps us push for a state and national movement on this. I think it's absolutely critical. People, through no fault of their own, who see because of COVID-19 lose their jobs and see their credit go down are going to have years of digging out of that hole. And that just seems wrong. That is of no fault of their own. So 100% support that concept. Make sure that we have the legal jurisdiction. If we don't, we'll push that at the higher level. Thanks, Emily. Next question.
Mary Beth McCady with KTLA Channel 5 News.
Hey, Mary Beth.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Yes, I was listening to you talking about May 15th and that being a special day as far as being a two-day, and I'm just wondering, though, what type of changes will we see, if any, as far as looming restrictions if the state doesn't lift their stay-at-home order?
So I think the state has been clear that regions can begin to move. They will have a base that we can't go beyond, but there's already been some flexibility. For instance, with some initial criticism, people were worried, as I said, about the construction industry. We thought there were vital jobs to protect and critical work to continue in a housing crisis and all the infrastructure needs that we have between public transportation and our airport and port. We were able to pull that off well. Northern California today joined us. We never stopped doing that, and there were 5 or 6 counties that did that. So it shows how the state is allowing flexibility of regions depending on what we want to do. It's too early to say the specific things, not because there's a secret plan, but it really does require making sure LA City doesn't do something that Long Beach is also doing, and Pasadena isn't doing, and Santa Clarita is doing, that the county is moving together, and hopefully in conversations between county leaders in the region. So just as we've seen Northern California, when a number of public health directors from a number of counties and a region move together, I think that's a really ideal model to have public health professionals from Ventura and Los Angeles and San Bernardino and Riverside and Orange and maybe even San Diego County move together so it's not confusing to the public, so that it's uniform. And because it just makes sense. A disease, a virus doesn't draw a county border or a city border. We need to do these things together. But certainly, I think in the area of where we can go and spend money, if that can be safely done, as we've shown in grocery stores, the sorts of spaces where we can go and get some fresh air and stay healthy while still staying away from each other. Those are places I'm certainly looking at that I'm hopeful that County Public Health will sign off on, and having conversations with our supervisor, Catherine Barger, who is the Board of Supervisors, and her colleagues, with Dr. Ferrer, with my colleagues like Robert Garcia in Long Beach, and Mayor Tornick in Pasadena. Both of those cities have their own health departments to make sure we're moving together. And I just keep every single time, May 15th is a day where everybody should be planning. It's over, celebration, big parties, quinceañeras, bar mitzvahs resume. Everybody's going to be back in hundreds of people, concert. It's going to be small steps, but I do think people deserve those steps. Right now, we're so hungry just to see a little bit of forward motion. And if we get that in a way, especially where the need is high, where risk is low, ability to make safe is high, to me, those are the place we go first. Thanks so much. Next question.
Thank you.
Next
Allison
question.
Cohen with Los Feliz Ledger.
Hey, Alex, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thank you, Mayor. I think that's really big, though, that everyone can get tested. It's fantastic news.
Good.
I have 2 questions
Sure.
on 2 different topics. The first is regarding the 40 trailers that are going to the park and will be set up at Friendship Auditorium parking lot. I'm just curious, since there already is a lawsuit against the bridge shelter that's going in there, housing, why that location, and why not maybe like the LA Zoo, for instance? And how was the site chosen?
Do you want to ask the second question as well? Both?
The second question is, any update on the microloan program? How many applicants has it to be funded, and has it been made easier to apply? Thank you so much.
On the second, I know you applied, and I asked folks to follow up specifically on application last time, so I'll see if I can get you information. I don't have it. I think the last time I got that was about 3 days ago, so let me follow up and give you the exact numbers. We're also hopeful we can continue to expand microloans and always simplify. We appreciated that feedback. We think we got them at many feet faster than even the federal government did, but filling that hole and using potentially some of the dollars we get from the Coronavirus Relief Fund, the CRF, which was part of the CARES Act, is something together with the county that received over $1 billion in that. What can we put together to help more small businesses who really the PPP program didn't hit, who don't bank with the big guys? So let me get you those numbers. In terms of Griffith Park, that was done by a whole group of people that work on this, the Health Services Authority, my office, City Homelessness Initiatives. We consult with the county and state on those, and we usually put them close to where people need them to be, and we can provide the services. So I believe that the services were there. I know we had a lawsuit on the Bridge Home Shelter, which I just saw new pictures of. It's going beautifully, and one of 2,200 new beds, the part of the different shelters that we are opening up around town. And just as we've sued other places, we continue forward with those lawsuits. And what was beautiful and most fearless is you had the Residents Association, you had the Neighborhood Council, everybody embraced that. And there will always be some people who say no and understand those fears. I don't dismiss them, but we can't solve homelessness by not building beds. And these trailers are a great way to keep people safe during this. We've seen how many people are experiencing homelessness on the Los Angeles River, especially right there, not all the way up towards where the zoo is. And so we hope that that can be a resource to keep people safe and bring them indoors. And then lastly, as I said last night, shame on all of us collectively from the federal level all the way down to the local if we let people return to the street when this is done. So I'm spending a lot of time. I convened a group of business leaders last night to talk about how can we get the funds and ensure that we can use some of the COVID-19 relief dollars to bring people not just into housing for a couple of months or a year if this lasts long, but then to permanently come into housing, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make a bigger dent in our fight against homelessness. So I'll follow up with those other numbers for you. Okay, thank you. Next question, please.
Claudia Pisciuta with KNX News Radio.
Hey, Claudia, how are you?
On the testing for all, regardless of symptoms, is that just for residents of Los Angeles, or is it open to any LA County residents as well? And then a second question.
Sure. It is for the city of Los Angeles residents to begin with. I know the county is working really hard on that, so it may get there soon, and we're in discussions with them, but right now, for anybody in the city that is symptomatic or that doesn't have symptoms.
Okay, sorry, it's really hard to hear you on the teleconference. I think you're done answering the first question. And then the LA Times had an interesting article today on wastewater analysis as a possible way to monitor the spread of COVID-19. I'm wondering if that's something that might be done here, why or why not? Thank you.
I haven't seen that article. I sometimes misread the clips in the paper. I'll check it out. I don't know is the short answer. It sounds very intriguing to use wastewater to look at some of that. But let me follow up with you. I'll talk to also LA County Public Health to see. We obviously have a lot of the sanitation. They have a sanitation district. But if that's something that helps us be able to assess that, it's certainly something we'll do them. First I've heard of it. Thanks for bringing it to my attention, Claudia. Next question, please.
Elizabeth Cho with LA Daily News.
Hi, Liz.
Hi. I actually had the same question as Claudia, but I couldn't hear the answer that clearly.
Wastewater or about the testing?
Oh, sorry, about the testing of the United States.
City of Los Angeles residents. Right now, moving forward, it's City of Los Angeles residents night, tomorrow. And I know the county's working very hard. They could be there very soon, but right now it's the city.
Okay, so I guess not all 35, it's still the 35, right?
You have to go through the portal and you just give what your address is in there, and that'll direct towards one of the centers. So it's not in every single one, correct? Anything, Liz? Is that it? Okay. All right. I think I was told that was the last question. So I'm going to switch to Spanish. I'll be taking some questions in Spanish at the end. But thank you and everybody. Please sign up, get a test. We're going to continue adding as much capacity as we can but we appreciate all that you are doing. I know in these next 2 weeks, it feels like each day is almost like a year, but hang in there. I believe in you, I believe in this city, and I believe in our future. Thank you and have a good night. And now I'll switch into Spanish. Muy buenas tardes a Los Ángeles. Hoy observamos el Día de Denim, el Día de concientización contra el abuso y la violencia sexual, y lo que tenemos que hacer para detenerlo. Hoy nos juntamos a lo lejos para reafirmar nuestra creencia que aquí no toleramos la violencia doméstica, el abuso sexual ni el acoso en cualquier forma. No se tolera ni en Los Ángeles ni en ninguna otra parte. Y para los sobrevivientes en nuestra comunidad, les recuerdo que no están solos. La ciudad está aquí para ustedes. Ahora les comparto los datos de hoy. Hoy vieron 1,541 nuevos casos en el condado de Los Ángeles, llegando a un total de 22,485 casos. En la ciudad de Los Ángeles tuvimos 683 nuevos casos, llegando a un total de 10,380. Y hoy fallecieron 56 personas más en el condado, llegando a un total de 1,056 muertes. Nuestras oraciones y nuestros pensamientos están con las familias que están sufriendo esta noche. En nuestros hospitales tenemos 1,276 camas disponibles y entre ellas 258 están en las unidades de cuidados intensivos y tenemos 1,091 respiradores disponibles. Hoy también recibimos un nuevo reporte del Departamento de Salud Pública, indicando que en sus vecindarios de más bajos recursos en el centro de Los Ángeles están falleciendo más de 40 personas por cada 100,000. Esta tasa es 4 veces más alta que la del condado entero. Esto nos dice que esta pandemia ha creado nuevas injusticias basadas en inequidades históricas que reflejan generaciones de abandono y discriminación. Estas injusticias nos impulsaron a tomar acción inmediata con respecto a crear acceso a pruebas de detección gratis para todos. Desde el 20 de marzo hemos estado ofreciendo pruebas gratis, ampliando poco a poco el acceso a más residentes. Hoy tenemos 34 sitios de prueba en la ciudad y en el condado. Tenemos capacidad para hacer pruebas a 18,000 personas al día. Y en el último mes hemos hecho pruebas a 140,000 personas. Y hay pruebas disponibles para empleados esenciales con o sin síntomas, primeros socorristas, profesionales médicos, trabajadores en mercados, conductores de autobús y metro, choferes de entrega, taxistas y conductores de viajes compartidos y trabajadores en construcción. Pero mientras esta enfermedad siga matando a la gente, tenemos que ampliar el acceso a pruebas aún más. Sabemos que este virus es un asesino silencioso que se está moviendo entre nuestra población y por eso hacerle pruebas a personas sin síntomas es esencial. Hoy estoy orgulloso de anunciar que Los Ángeles será la primera gran ciudad en el país que ofrece acceso a pruebas para todos los residentes, si tengan síntomas o no. Entonces, hágase la prueba. No hay duda que este es un paso para acercarnos a la reapertura de nuestra economía. No esperes y no te quedes con la duda. Puedes hacer una cita para una prueba en la página coronavirus.icity.org diagonal testing. Y estas pruebas están por todos los residentes del condado de Los Ángeles, en los centros en la ciudad de Los Ángeles. Todos los residentes del condado de Los Ángeles pueden recibir una prueba gratis con o sin síntomas a los centros en la ciudad de Los Ángeles. Mientras están todos protegidos en casa, sabemos que para algunos el estar en casa no es siempre lo más seguro. Para satisfacer las necesidades de las víctimas de violencia doméstica durante esta crisis, junto con Mayor's Fund, el fondo del alcalde de Los Ángeles, y Rihanna y Jack Dorsey, con sus donaciones de $4.2 millones, hemos lanzado Proyecto Safe Haven, proyecto de amparo seguro, para alojar a hasta 900 sobrevivientes de violencia doméstica. Lanzamos una página de recursos para los que necesitan en coronavirus.city.org/DV Resources para saber cómo obtener la ayuda que te mereces. Además, hoy firmé 2 ordenanzas: derecho para reclamar y permanencia de trabajadores, para asegurar que se puedan priorizar que los empleados afectados obtengan su empleo de nuevo cuando vamos la economía de nuevo. Y gracias a la presidenta del Consejo Municipal, Nuri Martínez, por su liderazgo con estos 2 y sus colegas también en el Consejo Municipal. Bien, continuamos esta fase difícil. Les prometo siempre mantenerlos al día con novedades y recursos. Gracias por su paciencia y determinación mientras mantenemos esos esfuerzos para salvar las vidas de nuestra comunidad. Quédense en buena salud, quédense protegidos y quédense en casa. Fuerza y amor, Los Ángeles. And I'll say one in English, I'm going to take some questions in Spanish. I was corrected. It is just in the city centers, but all key residents, with or without symptoms, can be tested starting tomorrow. So at city site, all can be tested. And I also got the numbers for the Los Feliz Ledger: 22,196 applications, 3,735 processed, already 89 of those approved and out the door. So we'll get you more statistics as that grows, and we appreciate that feedback. En español, yo puedo recibir preguntas.
La pregunta sería, hay un grupo de pequeños negocios que entablaron una demanda que se consideran no esenciales. ¿Qué piensa de eso?
Sí, la decisión de cerrar los negocios no esenciales no fue una que hicimos fácilmente, pero estamos enfocados en salvar las vidas de nuestra gente. Y por eso tomamos las acciones sugeridas por nuestros expertos médicos. No son decisiones políticas, decisiones médicas. Yo sé que es difícil para estos negocios, para nuestra gente, los empleados, y por eso hemos lanzado un programa para préstamos para pequeños negocios y hemos implementado una suspensión de desalojos para espacios comerciales también. Más pronto podemos aplanar la curva, lo más pronto podamos abrir nuestra economía y nuestra ciudad de nuevo.
Hablando de negocios, cuando los restaurantes ya finalmente pueden abrir, ¿la ciudad va a aprobar un plan específico para ellos o se lo van a dejar a cada restaurante?
Sí. Hay ayuda ahora por los restaurantes, zonas por los automóviles, también un programa para personas de tercera edad, por las cenas para estas personas, y nosotros usaremos los restaurantes locales para esto. Pero sí, las regulaciones en las próximas semanas y meses por los restaurantes, por ejemplo, menos personas en estos espacios, la opción de tener mesas en la sidewalk o por otras partes de por ejemplo, su propiedad. Estas son ideas ahora que la industria de los restaurantes da a la alcaldía, a los supervisores también, y espero que en estos próximos meses tendremos más restaurantes abiertos finalmente y los empleados regresando a sus lugares de trabajo.
Hay un medicamento que se llama Remdesivir, está usado para el Ebola. ¿Usted cree que puede ayudarnos
Sí.
Y es algo que puede ver la ciudad en general?
Sí, esta es una medicina en California, una compañía de California, y yo tengo orgullo de este trabajo, encontrar una medicina, ayudar a las víctimas de COVID-19. Aunque no es una vacuna ni una cura, me alegra saber que hay una opción que está mostrando promesa para ayudar a personas a recuperar más pronto. Y según las pruebas que han hecho, claro, necesitamos 2 o 3 opciones. El espacio, la distancia social. Segundo, medicinas. Y finalmente, una vacuna. Los 3 juntos son el formulario a regresar a una vida más normal.
También los Lakers hicieron una petición para incorporarse a sus prácticas.
Sí.
¿Cuál es su postura en eso?
Yo amo Lakers. Yo soy un super fan de los Lakers. Y qué lástima que nosotros no podemos ver nuestras superestrellas como LeBron. Pero mi oficina ha estado en comunicación con los Lakers y los equipos también en Los Ángeles, tanto como los otros equipos, a encontrar una manera de jugar estas ligas sin los fans. Estas